So let's talk about guilt. Guilt is a common emotion, and guilt is a very powerful negative emotion. Many of us at some time in our lives have experienced the effect of a guilty conscience. So here is my perspective on this powerful negative energy pattern and how it is formed, plus how guilt can affect you physically, mentally, and emotionally. The emotion of guilt and the feelings of this emotion go deep into the psyche. But before we go on and give it a hard time, a guilty conscience has a positive aspect too. Although feeling guilty can seem depressing, it can also give the opportunity to express forgiveness. When someone causes harm to another and then feels guilty, they have a choice to demonstrate regret and sorrow. In this case, the person harmed is likely to forgive. Feeling guilty and the act of forgiveness play a big part in helping to hold social groups together. So, guilt, on a positive note, opens the door for forgiveness. And my goodness, don't we need forgiveness in this world today? So, there is a mental and emotional connection between guilt and depression. There are many reasons to feel guilty. There is guilt by association, being taken on a guilt trip by another person. Parent guilt. Is it my fault that my child is not happy? Mum guilt, juggling work and family life and letting someone down, and feeling that you are not good enough because of that. I could go on. Over time, these situations can lead to physical, mental, and emotional disturbances such as depression, feelings of shame, and suppressed anger. Many people suffering with depression also hold a lot of guilt. They find it so difficult to forgive either themselves or others. This means that they are stuck in this cycle of guilt and depression. One is actually feeding the other. There also appears to be no way out. With these guilty feelings come a sense of being unworthy of love and nurture. Feeling guilty also comes with an underlying sense of being unclean. So, where does guilt come from and how is it formed? The pattern of guilt may have come from the early psychic developmental stage of a child. The energetic emotional pattern of guilt can come from a child feeling anger, hatred, and envy of the mother. In the natural course of things, the mother is a role model, the energy giver of nourishment, love, and nurture. This archetypal energy presents itself in the form of attention to the child, offering emotional support, proper nourishment, and loving touch from the mother. However, life is not always perfect. A person who feels guilty may have experienced a lack of this maternal, energetic, archetypal energy as a child. They would have been lacking love and nurture from their mother. In this case, as a child grows and develops, a conflict within the child's psyche can develop. Feelings of anger and hatred towards the mother energy may manifest. Then the child feels guilt for feeling these negative emotions towards the mother. Guilt then becomes an emotional pattern that plays out as they reach adulthood. Feelings of guilt can also be created in later in life through life choices and decisions that we make. Guilt can be a pattern that we have brought from our ancestors too. Also, feelings and behaviours of guilt and shame can also be cultural. The guilt of a warring nation, for example. So, what happens when a guilty conscience becomes deeply rooted into a person's emotional makeup? Guilt can be the underlying cause of the following mental and emotional feelings, causing conditions such as depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, shame, self-punishing complex, feeling unclean, feeling unworthy, feeling self-conscious, embarrassment, suppressed anger. So guilt manifests as physical conditions too. Here are two areas that are affected by the emotion of guilt. Bowel conditions such as constipation and ulcerative colitis, for example. The thyroid function is also impacted because the thyroid governs metabolism. So thyroid disease, and interestingly, the thyroid is in the neck. And the neck is where we express our emotions, our identity. It's where we scream and shout and laugh and cry and express fear, anger, and rage. Guilt suppresses the expression of fear and anger, hatred and envy. Literally, these feelings get bottled up in the neck area, therefore, the thyroid is affected. Guilt serves no purpose except to restrict your personal growth. It stops you in your tracks to learn from your experience. It moves you away from your true potential. So, as I said earlier, though, forgiveness is one of the positive aspects of guilt if you choose to forgive or take the right action in saying sorry for something that you may have done. As a therapist, I see so many people who harbour the feelings of a guilty conscience, and you don't need to. We can clear that guilty conscience. We can get to the root cause of that guilty conscience so that you are no longer impacted by it. And I help people virtually online if you can't meet me in person, as I live in the UK. And also I offer remote healing too. So please do go to my website, which is janieseaman.com, to find out more. And thank you very much for listening.